My guest today is Tom. No, Tom is the CEO at Metis, a permissionless Layer 2 network powering the next generation of decentralized applications, including a fascinating new AI angle, I guess. Hey, welcome to the show, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Andy. It's great to be here.
Great to have you here, Tom. Before we get into it, be cool if you could please introduce yourself. Would love to hear some of your personal and professional backstory. Yeah, just, I guess, a little bit in terms of what you've been doing in the lead up to becoming a CEO at Metis.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Tom Go, CEO of Metis. My family's been in the entrepreneur side all my life. I grew up in the family business. But just growing up, I didn't want to do the family business, traditional brick and mortar business. I wanted to do something else. So I really focused on trading. I was really inspired at a young age with some of my elementary school colleagues, actually. They were talking about stock markets and how, internet assets were being traded. And I was really fascinated because it was just a whole new world for me. But that stuck with me all my life. I grew up supporting my family in their business. They expanded to 13 location, but I took all my earnings and focus and really invested in my education on the trading side. Crypto has always been in my range of sight, but I never really see it as valuable because when you're trading traditional stocks or commodities, you don't really see it as a solid, I would say, traditional finance vehicle. But when the year that Coinbase went live and it felt like the market really shifted, it changed my perspective. So I started investing my time, effort, and everything I learned from the business side to scaling business and also trading, and focused on crypto. Supported a few communities, led to leading a few projects, and I would say the capital side. Met Elena, which was fantastic, was really inspired by her. I've always looked up to my mother. She was the driving force in our family business that really drove it from nothing to success. And I see Elena in a industry of men, but as powerful, as strong-willed, and as pure, and that radiated with me tremendously. And I think at that time, they were looking for someone to lead, someone to help support Metis, and it just felt like home. So I felt extremely aligned, knowing the landscape, knowing where we stood. So here I am today, supporting and leading with truth, with passion, and with alignment from myself and the organization.
Awesome. Very well said, Tom. Thank you for that. So I suppose a sensible place to start, Tom, would be just to get a little bit of just quick background on, for people that aren't aware, on what Metis is, and I suppose the original vision, and then we can just kind of update where that is. I'd love to get your thoughts in terms of how you think about Ethereum at present as well, because that kind of ties into the new, I guess, move towards AI. But I think, yeah, just a little bit of background, however you want to do it, in terms of, yeah, the Metis vision, how that ties into Ethereum. Maybe we even should touch on the market, because the market is crashing right now, and then we'll kind of, yeah, get into the AI stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting what's happening now, but I'll definitely share a little bit of backstory on Metis. Metis was created as a solution and for Ethereum. At that time, there were no layer 2s. Metis was one of the first layer 2 to support Ethereum. At that time, we know gas fee was extremely high. There was a lot of limitation. There's a lot of discussion about layer 2 as kind of the scaling solution for Ethereum to bring on the next billion users. Metis was one of the first 3 launched within 6 months of each other, L2. So we've seen the mini cycles, and why we created this is because we believe in the ethos of Ethereum, decentralization, transparency, self-sovereignty, and we still believe that till today. And I'll shift to AI. I'll share shortly on that. But to talk about Ethereum, I think the market is saying, hey, Ethereum is losing traction. Hey, that there's a shift. I think as there's more developers and there's more angles and applications and networks of different approaches to blockchain, it's going to eat up market share. But I think from Ethereum, I think there is a challenge, but there's also a shift. People say, hey, Ethereum's losing. I think Ethereum is actually still winning. Ethereum still holds one of the largest capital markets for our industry, one of the largest DeFi landscape as well. They have the most traditional finance, I would say, adoption currently out of all the different blockchains. And you're seeing a lot of traditional business. You're seeing strong centralized exchanges launch on Ethereum. So in that aspect, I say Ethereum is winning. Even, you see Base drawing a lot of users from Coinbase. Ethereum is winning. It's built on Ethereum, Ethereum's ethos and infrastructure as well. Eventually, you'll have different networks that has different kind of approaches on how they want to interact with the blockchain, some with more limitations, some with more restriction. You saw that with Sonium, but people know that it'll be different. But in theory, I think there's more regulatory acceptance, so we can't really forget all that and what's been achieved so far. So I think today the market is gaining traction. We will have some, pullback, some challenges as well. And some, I wouldn't say short-sighted view, but we got to pull back and see where we've come from. And I think the combination of regulatory support versus traditional acceptance and kind of the general attention of the common users and people who are new to the industry, it's more so than ever. So would you say that's winning or losing? I think we're gaining traction and we're here today. Even with this market pullback or this market kind of shift right now, I think it's just part of the market being in trading. I think this is just like, just part of the process. Nothing goes up forever in a smooth linear line. There's always kind of pullback, some I would say turbulence, but as long as we're moving towards more users, acceptance, I think we're winning as a whole, as an industry.
Yeah, great thoughts, Tom. And look, I think I'm going to publish this podcast reasonably quickly. So as we record here in New Zealand, I guess I'm like probably half a day ahead of most of the world, but it's like Wednesday morning for me, probably still Tuesday afternoon in some parts of the world. But yeah, it won't have escaped anyone's attention that we've had. Yeah, like the worst, I guess, quick crypto crash since maybe September last year. So, Bitcoin down to, about just over 87,000, Ethereum 2,440. So I know you've just given us your kind of high level thoughts, but just any other color commentary that you have, Tom, in terms of, what, I don't know. Yeah. Any thoughts or observations? Is this just kind of part of the cycle? Maybe an overreaction to what's happening with, Trump and tariffs and, oh man, there's a lot going on in the world at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. For my personal experience, I am hearing a lot of different countries and industries and entities really still looking to accumulate, maybe build their own Bitcoin treasury or reserve at the moment. So these are opportune times for probably these entities. So they might not be vocal, but there's a lot of activity. So to instill confidence in the public side, I believe this industry is still moving forward. There's no way it's pulling back. With something like that on the agenda from the US side, and also kind of the regulatory mindset that, hey, even from the state level, these are public signals. So in terms of like 20%, 30%, of course, this is not financial advice. For the trading aspect, we're still in the uptrend. We're still moving towards, acceptance. We're still, our trajectory is still going up. So I would say, this is just part of just the cycle. In terms of, where we're at, price is one thing, but development and acceptance is something else. So once all the storm clears, your base infrastructure, your tech is still there. All the noise is gone. We're still building. Are we a capital markets first, or are we a tech industry? I think we're a combination of both. So we're still building. We still have interest, and there's many entities still invested to build out this landscape with us and this industry. So it's not like an overnight thing. people are still building. So I would say just keep building and stay strong, stay optimistic.
Awesome. Great words, Tom. Thank you for that. Yeah, stay building, stay optimistic. Another way of thinking about that, of course, is a genesis or a regenesis, a rebirth, if you like, Tom. So, yeah, if that's the case, talk to me in terms of, what does that mean in terms of what you guys are doing at Metis in terms of, regenesis, perhaps a move towards AI, which is, probably a reasonably smart move. You guys are deep in this. I don't know how you want to frame this, but start any way you want, Tom.
Yeah, from our perspective, ReGenesis for Metis and the industry is very important right now. We're at a pivotal point. At the beginning, blockchain were simple activities and it went to DeFi. But I guess right now with the advancements of blockchain, it's coming to a usable state that can support what is in the high demand, what the market's really utilizing, and which is AI. AI machine learning has been around for years, but it's getting to a point where traditional market retail can actually interact and utilize it on a day-to-day basis as well. And we see that as important for us to really highlight the blockchain utility and how it really converges where AI is. You think about cell phones, right? We went from 3G to 4G to 5G LTE now. I think the blockchain is really evolving the same way. Metis being one of the first L2, here we're at 3G. We have scalability, we have reach, but we're reaching to a point where, hey, there's improvement in speed. We are going to focus on the speed and what in today's retail market demands, and that's supporting AI, machine learning, and anything that falls under that speed. You see with NVIDIA, they were gaming, but they saw the use case for AI, and they shifted and completely changed their industry. I think for us as an industry, blockchain providing transparency, traceability, especially for the data sector, is very, very important. Even with AI, machine learning, you don't know which model, what kind of data is being put into this model. It could be polluted data. It could be spam transaction. So blockchain provides verification, traceability, and it just makes absolute sense on how we can support this huge push into AI, machine learning. U.S. is investing over $500 billion into kind of the sector, building one of the first server farms in Texas, actually, which is, super exciting. So there's a demand for server from the hardware side to the software side as well. Software is always leading. Hardware is always kind of lagging behind. I think blockchain, we have to be focused. We have to be relevant. We have to focus on the infrastructure and the speed to stay relevant or with AI. If not, blockchain will maybe be obsolete and not really be able to capture the value and the current market sentiment of where the industry is, especially as AI, which is data. And I think that's an asset class that people are going to start realizing that data is extremely, extremely important. So hence, Metis ReGenesis.
Yes, indeed. Again, very well said, Tom. So if we frame that then as, I suppose, the ReGenesis is the reimagining of Web3 in the context of the era of AI, which is undoubtedly where we're heading. So that's kind of the big picture framing. But there's a few different components of ReGenesis from your perspective, aren't there? So I guess up to you how technical you want to get in terms of talking about the Andromeda network upgrade. And then is it LazAI? Is that how we're saying it? The kind of the AI data governance and assetization aspect of it, right?
That's correct. LazAI. So for our Andromeda upgrade, we understand that being one of the first L2, there's a lot of upgrades that we need to kind of progress with. And we're one of the first network to decentralize our network, our sequencer, which is kind of part of who we are, what we aim to do. So we will upgrade Andromeda to be up to speed with the latest Ethereum updates. That's one key thing, making sure that we're extremely Ethereum aligned. Also, compatibility is also important for us too. I think that's a big topic of fractalization for developers, and even the new cohort of companies and organizations for supporting Ethereum. building, I would say, a standard across the board for cross communication, cross compatibility is extremely exciting. So that will help bring us into alignment with all those communities and the Ethereum side as well. In terms of LazAI, it's very interesting. It'll be one of it's a leading organization for the AI side for data verification. We'll share more details and more details on our updates and roadmap at ETH Denver, which is happening now, especially on Friday and Thursday on the main stage. So we're super excited to share more details into what we're doing, how we're doing it, and kind of what we'll to expect for the next 2 to 3 years from the Metis side. But in terms of LazAI, they're tackling kind of the data. One of the key challenges in AI right now that nobody's tackling, extremely data verification. And when I was sharing earlier, it was a kind of a glimpse of what they're doing with data verification, where you can know the source, understand the point of view of the source, because a different point of views could be different from whoever's creating or starting this, say, data set, and where that data is coming from. I was listening to Claire from Filecoin, and she made an interesting point. She said Wikipedia is a source of truth for many people, but the contributors are usually male from a certain region of the Western Hemisphere. So the perspective is different on how they see things. I think data is going to be the same thing. How are you using this data set? Who's kind of leading it? With LazAI, you're able to kind of understand where this data set is coming from, at what kind of point of view, at what parameter. That way you can be more bespoke on the data that's being used. And I think that's just a small glimpse for the AI industry, as the different models will be more vast. Right now we have just general models, and it's going to be more bespoke for certain criteria and a certain sector as well. Because, when you see generated content from AI, it's easily detectable by human. Like, hey, this is pretty general. But eventually you'll have very unique tones, maybe from a regional perspective, and then even for organization, from healthcare to science. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, but we have a wide scope of areas that we can take care of. But with LazAI, we will take care of the core truth at the beginning. So the foundation of the data can be traceable. You can see who contributes to it, and you can kind of help govern it to maintain its core vision and direction of why and what the data is used for.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Tom. Because I think just as, there are more models released every week at the moment, it would seem. And in the early days when everyone was just using GPT, it was kind of accepted that the model was reasonably tightly constrained. And that was probably a good thing in the early days, as people kind of got used to this idea of having an AI. But as there's different models available, particularly with the release of like Grok 3 earlier this week, and you can see the difference in the tuning of the model. And of course, that makes sense as people, as you say, whether they come from, different regions of the world, or, they have different politics or different beliefs, then they're going to want a model that more accurately reflects their own world view. So how would Metis fit into that world? What are you doing to kind of help, when you talk about describing where the different data comes from and that data integrity, what would that look like in terms of a use case for people that are using these different models, or how would they use that?
Yeah, with the IDAO concept, you could understand, what kind of the vision of the data set is being used for. And it will maintain and is governed by contributors to help maintain kind of that vision and that data for that sector. That way you don't have contributors from a different industry having their own perspective into this data. It's governed by the IDAO side, which is what LazAI is really focusing on the data governance as well. So you have kind of an oversight committee in a way we're in a DAO setup to help kind of maintain that as well. Because I think from AI machine learning, it could only be automated so much. There still needs to be some guidance from the contributors, right? As in AI, they can't pick up maybe a sarcastic, contribution to a model, or maybe a different set of point of view. So I think one thing is we want to tackle the core. It's simple, but it's verifying data. It's almost like news right now. You have fake news. What is the source? How do you verify it? Who is verifying it? But if you create a economic model where contributors are verified in a certain way to a certain set of data, I think that's kind of where we're really wanting to focus on the core foundation pieces, where it all starts: the vision, the learning model, and what's its intent for.
Yeah. And what about, what does this all mean then for the future of decentralized AI? And just make the case for why decentralized AI, it's important to have, as opposed to just one or two kind of centralized models that could, rule the world really quickly if AI continues to accelerate the way it does. And I guess, how does open source, is there a difference between open source AI and decentralized AI? Just what are your thoughts on how this plays out in the future, Tom?
Yeah, I think, going back to your first question, it really aligns with blockchain, right? We talk about, hey, who really owns your assets? Do you want a few centralized entities to own your assets, which has a lot of friction? It could be, I would say, restricted, depending on a organization, country's point of view. And you might have nothing to do with it. And I think this applies to kind of the data side as well. You don't know if you have a centralized entity controlling all this data that maybe you're utilizing, and, or that data is not fully controlled or open source where it's transparent, then it could be polluted in a certain way, especially if you're using AI as a source of truth for, say, personal things, for research. It affects everything, depending on the source. If it's polluted data and it's get expanded into many, many models, it'll be hard to really clean up that data when older, say, models, other research is all dependent and sourced from, say, a data set that's not clear, true to its intent. So that's the first question. And your second question was open source, does that really matter in a decentralized way? I believe so. People need to see what kind of data is there. People need to see what contribution is being put into these models. If not, then it's almost like a black box. The black box, there's always question: who's contributing? Where is the source coming from? What is, like I said many times, the intent of this? If you have a data source that is intentionally trying to, say, manipulate data, or really trying to change a view of a certain sector or I would say topic, it could be easily done, right? It's closed off. It doesn't really matter. But open source really, and decentralization keeps us honest, keeps data truthful.
Yep. Makes perfect sense to me. Thank you, Tom. All right, well, look, as we finish off this part of the podcast, Tom, just how can people get involved with what you guys are doing? Maybe, I'm sure there's a case for developers to come and look at what you guys are doing and start to build with some of your resources. What about from the user perspective, community perspective? What's the best place for these different sectors of people? Where should they go? What should they do to keep up to date?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I think the best way to really keep up with all the latest from Metis would be metis.io, our website. Touch base with us on social, connect with some of the leaders and the vocal contributors from our team on social as well. We provide the latest, maybe some hints on what's up and coming as well. But metis.io would be the greatest source for knowing what we're building at Metis and some of the exciting things that are coming up.
Yes, indeed. All right, metis.io. Link, of course, is in the show notes as well. Listeners, Tom, it is time to begin to finish off the show, and we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Let's go.
Let's go, Tom. I'm just going to run some questions at you. Just want you to give me your kind of quick, snappy, hot take style answers, if you like. Let's see what you have to say. The first question for you is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I would say we're very open, multi-chain, omni-chain account. I would say chain abstraction, really kind of the open market is where we really sit.
Makes sense. Very well said. All right. What would you say, Tom, is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
I think the whole industry will thrive. The current shakeup is just temporary. With everything aligned, I think we've never been so aligned for many verticals, from business to the regulatory, from worldwide adoption.
Yes, indeed. All right. Look, Bill Gates famously said, Tom, that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. Look, 10 years is a long time in crypto, but yeah, cast your mind forward. Anything you like here, blockchain, AI, Metis, the intersection of all these things, 10 years time, Web3, Ethereum, what does it all look like?
It's all going to be merged together. All this blockchain discussion will be just blended in the background. The companies will build, but the retail will not see the difference. The user experience will be just as seamless as possible. That's how I see it.
Yep. Well, I hope you're right, because we need that, don't we? Tom, William Gibson famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
I would say from the borderless kind of transaction, and also kind of the trading aspect people are interacting with from, say, the centralized exchanges. It's no different than any other, say, maybe assets currently they might be involved in. They might not be involved in the infrastructure side or the DeFi side, but they're really already interacting with the space.
Yes, indeed. Very well said. All right, final question, last question. It is, Tom, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
This is a hard one here. I would say Tron is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Tron, that's a great choice. I don't know if anyone's ever said Tron, but of course, yeah, Tron's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's a merge of a little bit of everything we're doing here, right? Imagination, technology, the future. That's what we're always chasing, the future.
Yeah, and it makes me think of Daft Punk style music as well. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Hey, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Tom. Just to finish off, again, tell people where they can go to keep up to date with yourself and what you guys are building at Metis.
Yeah, absolutely. Metis.io, or you can follow me on X social at TomNGODeFi. Thanks for having me, Andy. It was a pleasure talking to you, and looking forward to the next few months, few years as the industry is growing and expanding.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. All the best, and bye for now.